a video response to Mr. Nice Guy, getting to know you. I'm on my way to Paducah, so I thought this would be the best time to put one together. Question number 1. How was your childhood? Well, I thought I had a pretty good childhood. Had mom and dad at home. 2 sisters and a brother ahead of me and a younger brother below me. Fought like cats and dogs, you know, normal childhood things, you know, chase your brother around the house with a knife, you know, just normal childhood things. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? I'll be staying at home or standing behind the kitchen sink, washing dishes and peeling potatoes. Okay, if I had one superpower, what would you want? If I had a superpower, hearing. I would want hearing. I would want to know what was said beyond the wall. Most embarrassing thing, number 8. Well, the most embarrassing thing is, and actually I had 2 most embarrassing things. One happened when I was a kid, and this one happened later on in life. But the first one was whenever I was about 12 years old. My mom had instilled in our heads about wearing clean underwear. I mean, if you didn't go out of the house, that's why I'm so, whenever I leave the house,
she asked us if we got clean underwear.
Asked us if they got clean underwear on. That is my most fearful thing. I guess because mom had instilled in our heads, you make sure you have clean underwear on. So anyway, this happened about, when I was about 12, 11 or 12, 13 maybe. I'd have to look at the news clipping. I don't remember exactly how old I was. But anyway, we was involved in a train accident. My sister had crossed the railroad track on a hill, and there was no signal. Even though she stopped to look, we didn't see the train. The train hit us, basically. But anyway, we all turned out all right.
Did you miss the train?
So anyway, it's like a week later or something, I started getting neck aches and stuff, and headaches, and blah, blah, blah. And mom took me to the emergency room, and they decided to do x-rays. Well, no, I didn't dream they'd ever do x-rays, so I didn't think nothing about it, So here we are to the emergency room. And they laid me up on this cold slab, they make you strip down just to your underwear, and they laid me up on this cold slab to take neck x-rays. And the first thing my mom told me when I come out of getting them x-rays done is, or I don't remember if she said honey, or all I remember is, didn't I always tell you to make sure you wore clean underwear? Well, I did have clean underwear on, but I had a hole in the back of it. And I always to this day remember having that little hole in the back of my underwear, thinking that technician guy had just seen the hole in my underwear, and I was just mortified. I mean, I was just like, I even cried. I cried in the car. I remember that to this day, thinking that guy had seen the hole in my underwear. But that's not as embarrassing as happened about 17 years ago. He's 18 now, 16 years ago, somewhere around there. He was about a year, 2 years old. Just learning to talk, basically. And the reason I'm saying him, because he's sitting right beside me, and he's done heard the story, so it can't be any more embarrassing than what it is. But anyway, he keeps putting his hand up there to me. Stop. Stop, I don't have to redo this. Don't. Anyway, our churches had a convention that year. Each year, like every quarterly, they would have a quarterly meeting. And all the churches would get together. They had about 15 churches. Our church was the host for that quarterly meeting. So there was about 15 churches had gathered at our church to have this quarterly weekend meeting. It was a Saturday morning. And it was like 2-3 minutes before church time had started. And I was standing, my husband and the kids went on up sitting up on the front row, because we always sat on the front row, because, church and front rows was, anyway, whatever. So we was sitting they was sitting up there, and I was standing back there in the back talking to some ladies, just chit-chatting and stuff, and it was like 2-3 minutes before church time, and all of a sudden, you know, how things get kind of quiet right before it starts. All of a sudden, I heard some giggles and snicks, you know, like, you know, giggles and stuff, and I kind of glanced up to see what was going on, and I seen my youngest son standing up in the front row. With his, my back was to him, but I turned around and looked and see him standing up there. And he was, you know, just making faces and acting silly and goofy and everything to whoever he was entertaining. So anyway, but at that time I turned around, or I started talking again, and I heard even more giggles and laughs, and I turned around and looked, and there to my horrifying shock, whatever, there stood my son.
That's me.
He had gotten in my purse and gotten a tampon out and had it in his mouth and pretending like he was smoking. And I knew beyond a shadow of doubt what was going to come out of his mouth. I just knew. I mean, there I stood and stared at him, and it was like eternity had just stopped. It was like the whole world had just stopped in time. And the words that I knew that he was going to say came out of his mouth exactly the moment I knew he was going to say them. And it seemed like the whole church was dead silent, and he shouted, "Look, Mommy, I'm smoking." I mean, I prayed and I prayed right there in the 10-second flat. Oh, Lord, please answer my prayer. Please let the rapture happen, and we can all go up, and this will all be forgotten. I started to walk up, and it just seemed like my legs was just like lead weight. I couldn't move. I mean, it was just like I was like an eternity away from that front row. It was only like 7 pews up. And all I could think of was, oh, Lord, please let this floor open up and swallow me right now. Anyway, I mean, I was just like, oh, my gosh. I was just mortified. Anyway, by the time before I got up there, some lady behind him, some elderly lady, picked him up and, you know, took him over the pew and put him on his lap, took the tampon away, and got him occupied doing something else. And I'll always be thankful to that lady for that. We don't sit on the front rows anymore. We sit in the very back, and have to that day. So that was my most embarrassing moment. Anyway, number 9. Name one large goal you have set for yourself. I want to be a photographer. Just, you know, as far as a photographer, I mean, I want to be able to go out and take and see the world and take photos. Okay, number 10. And plus raised my 2 sons, which I'm very proudly. They are doing very well. I love them both very much.
That's what you said last night.
So that would be my number 1 goal, which I pray that I've made a difference. And number 2 would be photography. Number 10. Who is your role model to you? My role model would be my sister Sue. I admire her. I'll always admire her. She's a great inspiration to me. She may not be a great inspiration to us all. She may not know it, but I'll always admire her for her strength and her courage. And she knows what I mean. So anyway, I can't say more, I'll start crying.